Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm completely winging this. It's the best way I could think of getting us all on the same page with this black marker project we've got to get done here in the next couple weeks. By the middle of March, at the very latest, we've got to have this entire menu costed out and all the recipes locked in for our own benefit. I've never used this recording thing before, and you'll probably hear a bunch of kids screaming in the background at some point. I do apologize. I made some notes on what we need to get done to complete this, and these are the 5 points that we'll cover in this video. Stefan made this document right here, 1-8-17. This has every single Zobler recipe in it. Isaac, based upon the tasting that we did last week, we may need to update some of these things. We made a few changes. We made some new dishes that are not in here, like the French dip roast beef thing. So all of that also needs to be updated with your notes from last week. But here are all 80 or so recipes that we need to merge into BMDoc 1.0. The reason we have to merge all of this is because we've made so many updates to black marker. Stefan, since you've made this one, I do apologize. You put a lot of work and effort into this, and we need to move it all over into a newer version. The new features that exist are what we made for the Hoxton project back in January, right around the same time you were inputting this. And this is what the new features look like. Previously, if you wanted to jump around and find recipes and do all this stuff, you had to do a lot of this scrolling at the bottom, which was a huge pain in the ass and wasted a lot of time, and it was always very frustrating. I figured out how to put in hyperlinks, so no matter where you're at in this workbook, you should never have to scroll around. Sorry, Lena, I just messed up your picture. Hyperlinks are right here in inventory. So let's say you're in a recipe and you want to find out the price of harissa, or you want to change harissa, whatever you want to do and get to the inventory page, just click on it and it'll take you directly to the inventory page. On the inventory page, don't even worry too much about this. There's a lot of features that this page does. It's kind of the main backbone of black marker. I've always used it as a chef to do my ordering. You can filter from your vendors, filter by category. I would always go down through, plug in everything I wanted to order, filter it, copy, paste, and email it to a vendor. We're not going to get into that right now. So any recipe you're at, just click at the top where it says inventory, and you're going to go right back to your page. So that's a huge time saver right there. And then the best thing about this new version is now created a summary page. Click on that. It'll take you right here where you've got every single recipe listed that's in the workbook, and you've got links, so don't mess up these things right here. This is all linked to each recipe, and it's pulling the data that a chef or a GM or a CFO or the owner wants to know. Everybody wants to know what the cost of the dish is. They want to know what the food cost percentage is. Here's a category so you can filter it and organize your recipes. And then PMix stands for product mix, so you could take the data from a POS, export it, drop it into here, and then you could filter. What your best sellers are, what your weakest sellers are. We could always add more columns as we go. If we want to put server information into here, we can continue to build this out. And then ideally, if a chef really uses this worksheet a lot to do their ordering and keep track of what their sales are, you could have summary 2-2117, summary 2-2217, and you could have all of these summaries at the bottom, so you could, at the end of the month, you could see how your dish is changing cost if you're updating your pricing throughout the month, and you could also see what your biggest sellers are. We could also then have a summary, a month-end summary, aggregate all of these to see the performance of the month. So we really want to start moving forward with this new version of black marker. I don't want to sound like a tech person here, but this is our biggest update ever. So we've got to take the time right now and get all of this data that is in 1-8-17. This is what Stefan made. These are all the recipes. The biggest struggle we're going to have is that we have to convert everything into grams. Not only because that's how they measure in the UK and that's what this restaurant's going to be, but it's also the best way to cost things out. We may find out in the future that yes, with US purveyors, we get charged in pounds. So the lowest denominator is always ounces. So whenever I cost things out here in New York, it's always in ounces. But for the sake of this being in the UK, we've got to translate everything over to grams. I don't have it ready for this video, but a gram, I forgot, an ounce is 28 grams. So anything that is in 1-8-17 that's in pounds or ounces, we need to get over into kilograms and grams. So that takes some serious mental bandwidth. Greg, you. Isaac, you. I've done one recipe so far on the new version here, which is titled BMDoc 1.0. These recipes down here at the bottom you see, I've taken from the Hoxton black marker because I think that some of these recipes we may be using for Zobler's. The same meatloaf recipe, the same buttermilk dressing recipe. So I left some of them in here because we may use them. We may use some of these desserts. Okay, so they'll be in here. The recipe I worked on was matzo ball soup. So on this video, number one thing we need to do here is input all ingredients and pricing. The way to do that is click on inventory, and we want to input ingredients. Now you can see here, we have to be very careful on how we input ingredients. The reason we get so anal about this stuff is because it's how your mind thinks. If you're looking for sesame oil, you know it's an oil. You want to look to where oils are inside the dry good category. So this way, you don't have things alphabetized by sesame, and then you've got sesame oil, sesame seed, sesame paste, all that. No, I want sesame oil, so it's in the oil category. You have to put oil, comma, whatever one it is. Same thing with nut, same thing with spices. Okay, same thing with sugar, same thing with mustard. Little things like this really save a lot of time, and it's how your mind thinks when you're mentally searching for something. You don't want to be scrolling through this thing all the time looking for alphabetized items. You want to go to dry goods and go to my seeds. Go to dry goods, go to my spices. You can always filter this, by category. I only want to see dry goods. Okay, hit OK. Here's everything in dry goods. And there's my oils, there's whatever you're looking for. Same thing with pasta. We can always have these categories. Raisins, you can get as crazy as you want. Raisins golden, raisins red. However you want to do it. But bottom line, if there's more than one item in that category, chocolate. Okay, here's more examples of this. This is how we need to input it. Capers, there's typically only one thing of capers. Yes, I know there's different versions, but we don't really, at least us on this video, are not thinking in multiple different forms of capers. So use your judgment. We're always going to go through and correct and update these things anyways. Beans, we know there's going to be multiple things of beans. There's only one black treacle. Anyone who knows what that is, bonus points. But this is how we need to take a recipe such as this. I'm just picking this randomly. There we go. Good example. Paprika sweet. This actually now needs to become spice paprika sweet. Okay, so I'm going to just do this right now as we're going. I don't want this video to go too long. I might not finish it, but here's how we do it. You'll have both files open, 1-8-17 as well as Doc1. You're going to right click. You're going to go to move or copy. I want to move Russian dressing, wherever this thing is. Good Lord, this is going to take a long time. Russian dressing always click create a copy, or else you're going to be moving this thing out of this workbook. Always click create a copy. Now we are in this workbook right here. I want to move it to this workbook right here. Okay. You may not have seen this, but it actually changed this screen. All you're going to do is click where you want to put it. So I'm going to put it right there. And it's going to place it directly in between mustard seeds and buttermilk dressing. Click OK. And we see it move over to this worksheet here, Doc 1.0, and it is directly between these two things. I'm not going to do it again. Just rewind the video if you didn't catch that. Now we're in Russian dressing. We're in the correct document. Now what we need to do is go through each one of these items here and make sure that they're going to be synced up with our inventory. Oh, I failed already. Big fail. Bear with me, guys, because I'm just realizing now that this recipe template is not updated either. See how it doesn't have inventory, it doesn't have summary page. Here are your blank recipe templates. So all you've got to do, once you get the recipe in the correct workbook, you're going to just copy and paste just this right here, the ingredients, the amounts, the unit, the notes. Right click, copy, and put it right in here. Okay. Now you're going to see some of these things picked up, some of them didn't. The items that did not pick up, such as these cells right here, means that in the inventory, this does not exist. Mayonnaise, or ketchup, or chili sauce. Onion, Spanish does exist. There are links in this crazy coded thing right here. This is how Excel knows how to find that item. There's a price correlated to that item. So if I go to inventory, I've got to open all these back up. I might want to see produce. I'm going to look for onions, Spanish. You see that there's a price. Okay. Column I is the one we need to always remember, recipe unit. This inventory sheet is huge. I deleted a bunch of stuff. There's a lot more features this worksheet can do. We're only going to look at right now at column I. This is where the recipe unit cost is. If you see up here, D239 divided by 1,000, there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram, and we buy onions in the UK. Where the hell did that go? We buy it by the kilogram. Right there, Spanish onions. So we got to double check. Yes, it's by 1,000. Let's say we bought this by the bunch. Right? We saw herbs somewhere. I'll just do an example while we're here. Watercress, we buy by the bunch. It's 195 British pounds per bunch. Okay, so over here in column I, mistake. It's dividing by 1,000 grams. We actually buy it by the bunch. So that's what the recipe will pick up. Anything that has watercress, lettuce, watercress, anything that has that will pick it up as 1.95. Now, I'm realizing now as I say that we may want to keep this as 1,000, but when you build these recipes out, you will have to think in your head, okay, I'm using, let's just say, a half bunch of watercress for this dish, or I'm going to use 3 leaves of watercress for this dish. Okay, how much does 3 leaves weigh? I have no idea. Neither do you, and we're not going to scale these out. Use your best guess. My best guess, 3 leaves of watercress, probably around 2 or 3 grams. So in the recipe, you'd put 2 grams, and it will pick this up divided by 1,000. If you were to say, maybe it's a batch recipe, and you need 6 bunches of watercress, you would then need to put in 6,000 grams of watercress. Okay, I'm going to be going through every one of these recipes and make sure that they're all synced up and that they make sense. It's very easy to make that error when costing out recipes. This is the hardest job anybody in a kitchen, chef, manager has to do. I know it sounds crazy, but this is really the only way to do it. We're going to go back now to Russian dressing. Okay, now that I've got the data pulled from the previous version, I'm just going to get rid of this because nothing else Okay, we could, yes, if there's a production procedure, we should copy that as well and get that over there. I saw that what was made already, there's some that have a lot, some don't have any, some have something like this. Just get as much information over to the new recipe template as you can. Alina is going to go through and clean up all of this. Once you've got basically that, I'm going to see if there's any other information to capture. Yes, maybe Russian dressing yields 1, but there's no amounts to what it is, so we've got all the information we basically need out of that recipe. So I can go ahead and just delete this. I'm going to quickly, before we can make any more mistakes, rename it to Russian dressing. Now, I always keep an extra recipe template available, because what you don't want to have to do is go back and delete and make a new template. So always, when you're down to one of these recipe templates, right click, move or copy. I always put at the end, create copy. I want to keep it in the same workbook that I'm in right now. Just hit OK, and you create a new tab. Okay, it's just duplicating itself. There's no faster way to do that. You can't create like 15. So we're back in Russian dressing. I'm going to change the tab to yellow because that, to me, I know that I'm working on it. Okay, now you see all these other things that are already up here. Now that must be from the temp. No, it's not. Yes, okay, this right here is capturing this column right here. So it's adding up whatever is in here. Now, the very first thing I normally do is convert all of this to grams. I'm probably going to pull up the calculator. This is where it gets, you got to sit here and think for a minute. 950 grams, we're good. Ketchup, we're good. Chili sauce, we're good. Onion, Spanish, 1 each. Okay, we just simply have to guess here. I'm going to say, you know, looking at an onion that to me weighs less than a pound, probably weighs somewhere between 1/2 and 3/4 of a pound. A kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So I'm just going to do a ballpark guess. You guys may have a better estimate than I do. I'm going to say that 1 onion weighs roughly 200 grams. Maybe 150 is probably around 200 grams. Okay, Stefan, you will obviously know the best of this, so you'll have to go through each one of these recipes and make sure that what we have in here converted from 1 each into grams actually is correct, or else all this is for nothing. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in 200 grams. You have to change this to grams. Pickle, half sour, 4 each. I'm going to go ahead and just say that a full half sour pickle probably weighs about I don't know, let's say 40 grams each. 40 times 4 is 160, so 160 grams. Horseradish, this is prepared. You've got in grams, great. Paprika, great. Worcester is 1 tablespoon. This, now when we go into liquids, I'm not too picky on this, whether it's in milliliters or grams. I don't know the metric system well enough. Liquids don't obviously translate all the same. Heavy cream weighs more than Worcester sauce. I typically, a tablespoon you've got here, Stefan, I'm going to say that is just going to be 5 grams. I mean, we could use milliliters. It's all about the same. That's when I say it's about the same of how we cost it. Okay, so I'm just going to change that to 5. Tabasco, half tablespoon, so let's just change that to 2.5. Lemon juice, 2 tablespoons, so I guess that would be 10. Okay, so there's our recipe right there. It's all in metric. Put that away. Now we have to go through and find the items that did not pick up. So, mayonnaise. Click on inventory. I'm going to open up all this. So we've got the full range of everything. And then bring out your best friend, Control F. Type in what you want. I'll start searching. Now there we go. So, mayonnaise Hellmann's. That's what we want here in the US. Can we get mayonnaise Hellmann's in the UK? Yes, we can. There's obviously different brands of mayonnaise, so this is where also whoever's purchasing knows that we don't want, we've seen what the UK uses. They have a different version. I think it's the Japanese mayonnaise that they typically use. we want Hellmann's. So in your recipe, it has to say mayonnaise, comma, Hellmann's. Okay. Now, as you get recipes going, it takes too long to scroll. We've put inventory right next to summary, so you can quickly go to summary. We don't have this recipe in here yet. I'm going to touch base on this at the end of this video. But eventually we'll have all of this hyperlink, so you click on it and it will go directly to the recipe. For now, pain in the ass, I'm sorry. You've got to go back to your recipe, Russian dressing, and you've got to change this to comma Hellmann's. Now, this is not case sensitive. It is sensitive to any spacing and commas. So you're going to see I'm going to hit enter and it's going to pick it up right here. There it is. Now, if I were to forget that space, it will not pick that up. It must be exactly the way it is in inventory. Hit enter. And you're immediately going to see these things start picking up. Ketchup. Go back to inventory. Ketchup is there, comma Heinz. Picks it up. Chili sauce. Now this one I'm almost positive is not in the inventory, so here's where I'm going to show you how to input a new item. If we type in chili, you see where this thing popped up here? That's just saying that it's not in this worksheet or in this tab. Control F only works in the tab that you're in. So at the bottom of inventory, you see I've got a bunch of these already in here for new items. You can add as many as you want. The way to add is start over here. We're adding chili sauce. That is a dry good item. Chili, comma, sauce. Should it be sauce, comma, chili? I don't think so, to be honest. I think, how many sauces do we have? Soy sauce. Oh, let's just, while we're thinking of that, let's see what else we have in sauce. Apple, comma, sauce. HP sauce. Soy sauce. I guess we're saying that we could almost have a sauce, comma, apple, sauce, comma, soy, sauce, comma, chili, sauce, comma, HP. Do we want to do that? I don't know. Isaac, I'm going to leave that to you. For right now, I'm not going to go back and change up the 3 that we already have in there. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to put in chili sauce. But you can see right here the point of eventually we may want to have sauce, comma, chili. Our brains don't really think that way for these particular items. I don't know why. So chili sauce. Now here is where we actually have to look at invoices. I do not know how chili sauce is going to come in from the UK vendors. In the US here, you order it by the case. Will Dairyland break the case for you and give you a piece? Yes, they will. But typically, as a chef, you'd be ordering this a case at a time. When your inventory runs out, you order another case. So we're going to say that this is a case. That's how we're going to order it in. Now, what is a case? A case is probably 12 jars. How much is in each jar? I don't know, 200 milliliters, 240 milliliters. We'd have to get that information. Isaac, you will have to, and myself and Stefan will help you when we're there. We will have to go through each one of these items and actually get it accurate. To be inaccurate, you just hit case. That would help you with ordering. But a case does not help you with a recipe cost. So we've got to drill down to the lowest denominator that you can. So if a case comes with 12 bottles and each bottle is 240 milliliters, we have to go 12 times 240 equals 2,880 milliliters. So that's why I put in here in parentheses. Don't worry, none of these are linked up. You can type in whatever you want in these cells. 2,880. That's how many milliliters we buy per case. Now I come over to column I, and I'm going to change this to 2,880. Now, if we go back over to our Russian dressing, chili sauce. Did we not spell that right? What the hell's going on? Chili sauce, we're on roll 336. Looks like it's spelled right. More than likely. That's interesting. I'm sorry guys, this is not working here. All my spaces are there. Inventory. I don't know why that's not pulling, guys. I'm just gonna straight copy this, find out why it's not. What the hell? Okay. Oh, this is discouraging. Why is that not working? Let me keep moving here. I'll come back to that one later and figure out why that's not working. Pickle half sour. Again, I doubt it's here. Probably have to add a new item. Pickle relish. Pickle, mustard seed pickle. Okay, fine. So we're going to add a new item. This is, I guess, would be produce. P. Pickle half sour. We're going to order this by, I'm assuming we're going to order this by the kilo once we get over there. Oh, I know why this didn't pick up, because we didn't put a price in. Okay, so again, we have no idea. I'm going to highlight this entire, this should all be highlighted red maybe, because we don't know what the prices are going to be. We haven't found them on the invoice yet. This is why I did not pick up. There's no price in it. So how much does a case of chili sauce cost here in the States? I have no idea. I'm going to say $27 a case. So in pounds, let's just say it's going to be $23 a case. I'm just going to put that in for now. How much is a half sour pickle going to cost us? Shit, I'm just realizing we're making pickles in-house. So this is going to be a batch recipe. So Stefan, you've probably got a recipe for half sour pickles. You do. We'd have to, I mean, this is where it just gets mind-blowing tedious to cost out a menu, because we actually have to now take the half sour recipe that is somewhere. I'm not going to look for it right now, but Stefan, I know you have it. And just for the sake of this video, I'm going to put in, it's a batch recipe, meaning that, you know, we don't buy this from somebody, we make it, batch recipe. I'm going to change this to PR, which stands for prepared goods. Batch recipe, let's say a batch recipe is going to yield us 10,000 kilograms. Okay, we have to find out what that cost is going to be based upon that recipe and the ingredients that go in that recipe. Again, for the sake of this video, it's going to cost us 12 pounds to make that. Now we've got to go over here and make sure that we've got it synced up with the recipe unit cost into what we're actually producing. So it's 10,000. So it's basically telling us that it's, you know, 0.001 pence per gram is what that's telling us there. Back to Russian dressing, you'll see now that we have a price for chili sauce in there, that it picked it up. It's also picking that up. Pickle half sour. Okay, again, the analness of this worksheet, it sees a dash. I'm just going to get rid of that dash, and it will pick it up now. Horseradish. Okay, it's horseradish, comma, prepared. Again, we may have multiple different versions of horseradish that we buy. Isaac, we saw that we're not even going to use prepared horseradish the way we think of it. It's actually called horseradish dressing in the UK. But for now, it's just going to be this, prepared, use. Okay, it's going to pick it up, paprika sweet. So I can go ahead and just change this right here also. Spice, comma, paprika sweet, should pick it up. There it is. Tabasco, I don't think is there. It is, but there's no price. same thing. For the sake of this video, and to get the recipes at least in the ballpark, we're just going to do this. We'll do the same 280 that we did for chili sauce. It's whatever. It's a bit more. Go over, make sure that that's synced up. Okay, there we go. No, why are you not there? Tabasco. Did I not spell it right, or did Stefan not spell it right? There it is, lemon juice. Last item here, we're almost done. This is the most painful part of this entire process. Okay, lemon 100 count. This is how you buy lemons, by the case. I've got it broken down to the lowest denominator. This is real numbers here. Mash is the Baldor of London. That's who most people buy their produce from. Lemons over there cost 23 pence each, so that's all correct. We just need to change it to lemon 100 count. Okay, now you're going to see when I hit enter, it's going to come up with a big number, because this is basically saying that we want 10 lemons. In fact, we don't. You saw over in inventory it said lemon juice. That would be if we bought pre-squeezed lemon juice, which we're not going to do, I assume, Isaac. So you see we've got $2.03. I'm sorry, $2.30 for 10 milliliters of lemon juice. That's not accurate. How many milliliters go into a lemon is the question right now. My gosh, I have no idea. You just got to start making some of the stuff up here. If we went to 0.1, also make sure this little button up here, if you hit, you got to stretch that out a little bit. These two little buttons up here can show how many decimal points you want, how many holders you want, I guess. I don't know. Does that make sense, Stefan? I have no idea. Just help me out here. All right, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to change this back to, there we go. Okay, now you've seen we've got all of our, it pulled everything here. It's multiplied the recipe unit by it's multiplied the recipe unit cost that is on the inventory worksheet by the amount that you want for the recipe. Now, this recipe is saying that it will produce 1,763 grams. We put a little waste in here. You can always change this. Typically, I don't think we'd waste 10% of a batch of dressing. How good does someone clean out the container that it was stored in? How much do you throw away in the squeeze bottle? How much do you throw away in the ninth pan? I don't know. This is all just theoretical crap. I'm going to change it to 5% on this. I just have to change this over from 0.1 to 0.05. But it's good to always put a bit of waste in, especially maybe not for this. This might not be a good example, but maybe on a different dish recipe. What we're making here, Russian dressing, is a batch recipe. So this right here, Russian dressing, will eventually go into the inventory page as a prepared item, Russian dressing. We're going to get the cost here in a second because sandwiches use Russian dressing. So when we go to build out a whatever pastrami sandwich, Stefan's going to say that it needs, 20 grams of Russian dressing. We need to know how much 20 grams cost. So let's say we're just going to use that number. Portion size is 20 grams. You saw some things happen here. Everything is synced up. Please do not try to get familiar, play around, look to see where there's links. If I just type something in here, it's going to get rid of my formulas. I will try to highlight the cells to input the data. But before you press anything, make sure that there's no formula, or else it'll mess everything up and we'll have to fix it. So we're going to say that a portion size is 20 grams. It's starting to kick out some costs here for us. Total portions of a batch is 84. If you see that I change it from 20 to 30, you're going to see that change from 84 to 56. Okay, so everything is synced up. It works really nice. Food cost per portion is 5 whatever. Food cost, now because we don't actually sell this is not a standalone dish. This is where you'd put the menu cost in here, or the menu price, and it would tell you what your percentage is. Because this is a batch recipe that we're working on here, we don't sell Russian dressing yet to the consumer. Let's say we did. Let's say we sold 20 grams of Russian dressing to the customer because they wanted it, and we wanted to charge $2 for that. You put in 2, and it's going to give you a cost, okay, of 3%. Because this is a batch recipe, we're not going to put anything in here. We're just going to leave it as 0. So we know that a portion of Russian dressing to put on a pastrami sandwich costs us 5 pence, I think, if that's what that means. We could go ahead right now and just input it. I'm going to go to inventory. I'm going to go to new item here. It's prepared good. We're going to have a lot of dressing, so I'm going to put it in as this. Russian, it's a batch recipe. I forgot already what that is going to make us. 1763. My gosh. 1763 is what it produces. How much should that cost us? $4.61. $4.61, and then you've got to go over here, and you actually have to change this always to, whatever column C says is what you need to put in there. 1763. Okay, so all that's going to be in the database now. So when it comes time for a dish that requires Russian dressing, you can now put dressing, Russian into that new recipe, and it will pull these costs that we just calculated. Okay, that is, I know that's extremely exciting what we just did. One recipe, I don't even know how long this took us. Obviously you get faster as you go, but this is why we're going to divide up the work to everyone on this email, because for one person to do it, honestly, it's about 20 to 30 hours of work. So if we divide this out, we all tackle it. We all have to do about, I did the math, if there's 6 of us working on it, or 4 of us working on it, whatever it ends up being, we're only doing, 10 to 15 recipes a piece versus 80. So there we have it. We just costed out a recipe. Once we have a picture of that, we input it there. Once we maybe have some better procedures, we would put it in there. We can have a menu description or an item description if it's a recipe. You can also, Elena puts the allergies in this category as well. Imagine that this were a dish. Let's use matzo ball soup. This is a dish. Okay, a better example. We know that we sell it for $6 or £6 on the menu. A batch costs us $13, 13 pounds. The portion costs us 82 pence. We sell it for £6, gives us a cost of 14%. This is a nice, polished, ready to go, other than the picture, recipe card here. Now, Elena hasn't done this yet, but this card you could print out and give to anybody. You could give it to the GM who wants to know. You could give it to the owner who wants to know. You could give it to the chef. You could give it to the cook who needs to make this. You could give it to the waiter who needs to learn what this dish is and what the allergies are and how to sell it. Okay, this is a very useful tool. It is very tedious to set up, but once you have it, it has everything that you need. From chef, GM, cook, waiter, anything they need to produce and sell this product is here. All right, that covered point 1, ingredients and pricing, and it also covered point number 2, how to get all the recipes from 8-17 over into BMDoc 1.0. Pictures we need to take. Isaac, me, Stefan, that's what we're going to do in March. Menu descriptions, Alina's going to make. And then I will go through, once we have all the recipes in here, I'm then going to go through and put hyperlinks in so that if you remember the way the Hoaxed and Grill looks on the summary page, to make this worksheet useful, if I want to know how much lemon ring tart costs, or I want to print it out for a cook to make, I just click on it, takes me right to it. I can bounce right back to the summary page, look at Caesar salad. It's very quick and easy once these hyperlinks are in to go wherever you want to go. Deviled eggs, print it out, go back, print out scallops. Okay, all the information is here. The Hoaxed and Grill is, I'll copy this in on the email so you've got it as a reference point. We've covered a lot of the hard work that needs to get done here. Again, to recap, we have to take everything in document 8-17. You right click. You're going to create a copy. You're going to move it into 1.0. You're going to then select where you want it to go. You're going to hit OK. It's going to move it over into that worksheet as long as you have both worksheets open. Always remember to use the recipe template. Always create more templates. Stay ahead. Don't let yourself use the last one and then you've got to delete a bunch of items and you can make mistakes too easy. Just make a bunch of them. And always remember, use colors because that helps us remember what we did. Always take the imported recipe from 8-17, copy and paste the information into the blank recipe template, rename the template into what the recipe is, change the color to yellow, and then get to work on making sure that the grams, everything is translated into grams or milliliters, and that if you don't see it picking up, that means you've got to adjust the inventory. It may just be a comma. It may just be, a subcategory. If it says, cinnamon ground in Stefan's recipe, just change it to spice, comma, cinnamon ground. And chances are it'll be over in here. If not, you'll need to add it. Okay? And again, adding items, scroll to the bottom. You got a bunch of new categories here for new items. And you just go. Obviously, call me when you're working on this. We can walk through this together. This video is just, I imagine you should only watch it once. It's annoying to watch a video this long. It's just get your mindset on this. Then call me when you're doing it, and we can work through it together. Alina also knows this worksheet very well. Her and I did the Hoaxed one, so she is a good resource to use if whatever you can't get a hold of me. The biggest struggle I'm realizing we're going to have right now is that we're going to get conflicted copies. If there's 3 of us working on a worksheet at the same exact time, Excel, to my knowledge, does not have what Google Docs has, real-time collaboration, meaning we all can't work on the worksheet at the same time and it saves all our updates and it's always synced. The trouble is that Google Docs is not, I hate this word, but robust enough to handle this worksheet. The formulas don't work on Google Docs, internet browsing, stuff like that. It can't handle a worksheet like this. So we have to do it in Excel. We have to work on it on our own computers. I think it's probably going to fall on me to make sure that all the work we do is synced up. So Greg, if you send me your recipes, Isaac, send me yours, Elena, send me yours. Stefan, if you can get a couple done, I'm obviously going to do a couple myself. Get it all to me, and I'll make sure that it's all synced up into one version. I'll make sure I'm always updating it, and that we don't lose anyone's work. I'll make sure that if there's any errors, I'll be combing through it. to make sure that it all makes sense. Stefan, you'll be tasked a lot with making sure that the recipe is translated correctly into grams from each. That could be a huge mistake that we make, as if we don't translate it to grams properly. So here we go. I hope for the best here, guys. We have to divide this workout. It's too much for one person to take on. Isaac, obviously the big thing. You are going to be, you've got to learn these recipes. So you should definitely be the one helping on this, thinking to yourself as you're doing this and studying them, does that really make sense? Think about production. The batch recipes might not make sense to your head. You're going to be the one running it. You're going to be the one, this has to make sense. At the end of the day, this has to make sense to you. So, let your mind think a little bit as you're reviewing these recipes, and let's change as much as we can now before we hit the ground running. We do have the bonus of, me, you, and Stefan all being there in March before we really get running. So we'll be hunkered around a computer, making sure the work that we do now, February 21st, between, we've basically got 3 weeks to get this done. I want it done sooner because Jeremy's going to be asking for it. I'd love it if we could get this done in 2 weeks' time. I think it's definitely capable. Alina and I did it at Hoxton, which was bigger than this. We did it in 1 week. It killed us, but we did it. So if the bunch of us work on it for 2 weeks, I think that's very reasonable. But let's put it as a number one priority of what we have to work on right now. And we go from there. I'm going to stop this video. Good luck, everybody. Call me. Let's do this.